Hey everyone, so first of all, before we get started, maybe give me a thumbs up or like this video or something. I never ask for likes and stuff, but I just have a feeling with this video that some Fear fans are going to be pretty pissed off. So anyways, that was the season 5 finale of Fear the Walking Dead. And based on a lot of the reactions before the episode aired, based on leaks, and I guess some people actually watched it early, I'm sure the majority of people are pissed off, but I mean, who knows? Maybe after everyone's already watched it, it's not as bad as people thought. For one, I do have to warn you for spoilers for tonight's episode. I just have to because pretty big moments happened, or a big moment happened that has shocked the Walking Dead community as a whole. I do think there's some good to what happened at the end, potentially anyways, and I really should stress that. The showrunners are supposed to be on Talking Dead tonight after tonight's episode. They may say definitively whether or not that big death was a big death or not. I think they should answer with, it's not a big death, and we'll see what happens, how he survives in the premiere of season 6, and just, promise that it's not a death, because otherwise, in my opinion, you're gonna have a lot of fans pissed off at this cliffhanger, because once again, there was a season finale cliffhanger involved in a Walking Dead show. Now, before we actually get into the big cliffhanger and what it means and my review of the season overall, I've seen some comments questioning the idea of even criticizing a cliffhanger, like why is it so bad to have a cliffhanger and that, but it's not really. In theory, it's not bad to have a cliffhanger. There's a lot of great cliffhangers that have been done throughout television history or movie history. I could go on and on listing a lot of them, but that would just take a lot of time. Cliffhangers in general aren't that bad. They've been used a lot throughout the history of, first of all, novels and literature. It was popularized in the 1800s because of Charles Dickens, and even back then, people liked it. It created this excitement, and there was almost like a fan base, you know? Something to look forward to. The difference with Fear the Walking Dead Season 5's cliffhanger and the Walking Dead Season 6 finale cliffhanger is there was no satisfying ending to the season's story. And that is what's wrong with these types of cliffhangers, because you can do them wrong. You can get a cliffhanger wrong. And in both instances, in my opinion, they're done wrong. The Negan cliffhanger was so bad and hated by millions of fans because Negan's introduction and who he was supposed to kill was the whole point, I would argue, of that second half of the season. It's why everyone was watching. I mean, a lot of people were watching because they liked the story, but that was a big appeal to that second half of the season. Who was Negan? We had the slow build throughout the season with the saviors constantly saying, I'm Negan. The question of who's Negan, like who is the actual Negan? Is it a phrase? Is it like this crazy cult? Or is there an actual person? And in my opinion, it was a great story done by Gimple in the second half of the season. The intensity was built to extreme amounts. Because I remember when I watched the Negan cliffhanger, the season 6 finale for the very first time. Before it happened, I was absolutely stressed out. I mean, I was scared. I felt shaky. I've talked about this before. It just got too real for me because I knew what happened in the comics. I knew that Glenn was going to die, but it just felt too sad because they were hyping this up so much. And The Walking Dead, they did do a few cliffhangers, and I remember being a little concerned about it because of the Dwight and Daryl one, and then the Glenn Dumpster thing, but I didn't think they would do something like that. And I didn't really think there would be a cliffhanger either. I just felt like that's too unrealistic or too unreasonable. Like, they would never do that. They would never piss off their fans like that. They should care about their fans, right? I'm not saying they don't, but that's just what I thought then, right? And overall, I felt very sad. I actually felt very scared. I didn't want to lose Glenn. Not to Negan, you know, not when Maggie's pregnant too. And again, it just got way too real. And that episode, it felt like, wow, Glenn is about to die right away. I'm scared. But when that death didn't happen and we were left waiting 6 to 7 months for the actual scene, I was pissed off. Because when you then look at the build to this moment in season 6, like the entirety of season 6 was supposed to build to this moment, there was nothing there because that moment was not there. The second half of season 6 worked because that moment at the end was supposed to happen. Negan was supposed to kill Glenn, and only Glenn, first of all, leaving us with that dark feeling and seeing how broken our characters were at the end, which in itself is an actual cliffhanger. That's kind of hilarious. What's Rick going to do now? This is the darkest point in our characters' lives. How does he deal with that? And just the excitement for season 7. You get that satisfaction and you feel sick and scared, but you're still hyped. You're not pissed off and you don't feel like you've watched the season for nothing. Then you can start season 7 off with a whole different approach, not with that death in the premiere or the deaths in the premiere, because at that point, it was 6 months later and people were already sick of this story. It felt like the Negan thing was taking forever. And a lot of fans just gave up. It became this whole game almost, you know, like this gimmick. You just watch for that moment. You want to see who he kills. It wasn't really story based anymore. It was all ratings based to get you to watch this episode, which of course a lot of people did. And that is a goal of a TV show, obviously. You want to write a cliffhanger at the end of each episode, something anyways to get people to watch the next one. That's fine. But in the case of this Negan cliffhanger, it just didn't work. And the same goes with this Fear cliffhanger. Now, it's not as bad, in my opinion. I think Fear the Walking Dead is averaging about 1 million or 1 million and something views per episode. Whereas The Walking Dead had, I can't remember the number. It was like 15 million to 17, maybe 20 million. It was like somewhere really high anyways. So obviously the hate back then was just magnified by that much. Whereas with Fear the Walking Dead, it's not as bad on that scale, but it is still pretty bad. Nothing happened this season. And I mean, nothing happened this season. Well, of course, some things happened, I guess, but it wasn't worth watching. Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 is a season I just really would not recommend to anybody because there's no satisfaction in any element of the story. The story began with a plane crash in this random area of the United States, and over 8 episodes, things did happen, sure. Like our characters walked from here to there, they said some Shakespearean dialogue, but if you look at the end goal, like what actually happened in the mid-season finale, they just all hopped on a plane and left with a bunch of kids. Like they didn't go anywhere. There was no growth, nothing happened. And first of all, that is such a laughable plot. Our characters want to help others. Like what is that? Flying a plane too? When did Fear the Walking Dead ignore all realism? These characters can just fly planes now. It's just like so easy. They're able to find one and it's like, why don't they just fly to Alexandria then? I don't understand that. The second half of the season saw another ridiculous change. Alicia didn't want to kill anymore. Another tired, overused plot that has plagued the Walking Dead universe for like the last 5 years or so. Sure, maybe Alicia has abandoned that, but still, that shouldn't be a story anymore, especially because fans hate it so much. I mean, because like that is out there. That's a big criticism. That's probably the biggest of all criticisms for The Walking Dead is it is boring and they always talk about their feelings. Fans are very, very vocal about it. That is why people actually stopped watching The Walking Dead. That was the biggest issue in season 7 and 8. The only exciting moment, in my opinion, that happened this season is Morgan's, death, just because you have the adrenaline of what they're killing off an original character or season 1 character on a spin-off show. And maybe if they did something with the story, maybe, that happened in episode 15 in order to set up a special send-off for Morgan in the finale. See, that's how you would do a cliffhanger. You don't do it at the very, very end of a season where you have to wait 6 to 7 months to see how it resolves. You do it the following week to see what happened, and you also have to have a point with it, not just do it for the ratings. I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments saying, you criticize Morgan's death cliffhanger, but not Rick's in season 9 when he left or when he fell on that rebar. Well, yes, I am. When they did it with Rick, we already had the knowledge that he was leaving in episode 5. They also showed teasers immediately that confirmed he survived that initial situation. He was going to get out somehow. He could probably still die from bleeding or whatever, but that was an alright cliffhanger. And the biggest reason is because it was episode 4 of the season. This was literally at the beginning of the season. We actually had 3 great episodes beforehand too, and it was overall just done right. With Fear, this season was horrible. It was an absolutely horrible season, and it ends in a way that paid off what storyline this season exactly? What happened in the finale that paid off a certain story that happened earlier in the season? Maybe it did something philosophically for some of our characters, which I, first of all, have so many issues with that, but nothing. This Morgan moment came out of nowhere. Morgan hasn't done anything in 5 years. Ever since he returned in season 6 on The Walking Dead, this character has just been wasted. And it's sad. Poor Lenny James. He's such an amazing actor. I really hope that his character does survive and that in the season 6 premiere, a helicopter just goes in there and picks him up. Rescue Morgan from the show, not from his wound. This is the biggest issue I have with Fear the Walking Dead. I mean, first of all, visually, it's disgusting and hard on the eyes. The gray tone is annoying and it's so hard to watch. But most of the characters are experts in philosophy and act so entitled. Like they're so open with their feelings to the point that it's like we're watching some Shakespearean play. Like that is literally how they speak now. We needeth to survive. I don't know if be true it's right. This is what fans are calling Gimple speak. I saw Forbes reference this in an article a few weeks ago. I didn't even know it was a thing, but Forbes did reference this, so maybe it's not a thing, but I saw Forbes do it. And basically, it's the way characters speak in general that comes off as feeling-based, and it's just not real. Actually, this is a perfect example of this style of dialogue. Troy is speaking in this manner, but Nick then cuts him off and just says, like, shut up, and is more real. So Troy in this situation is the way Fear the Walking Dead and is the way The Walking Dead used to be, and Nick is the way The Walking Dead is now and the way it was in earlier seasons.
That's why he's gone. Good they don't survive this world, only killers.
Shut up, Troy. Your brother's dead because you brought a horde down on us. So why don't you quit jerking off about the tragedy of it and help me do what Jake would have done, or those people are gonna die.
Besides this season being boring, most of our characters are just not likable. I mean, I guess that's a little bit harsh. They're likable, I guess, but they're just kind of there. I don't know how to feel about them. I don't hate the characters, but I don't like them. They just exist. It's just a thing that they're standing there. It's just, that's how I feel about Fear right now. I don't hate the show. Like, I don't extremely hate on the show or anything. I don't like the show, but it's there. And it exists. It's just there for some odd reason. It has The Walking Dead in its title, so I guess it must matter, right? I know this isn't really a review of the final episode. It's more of a review of the final season and the issues I have with it. But I really just wanted to talk about it because it's something that I've just been very frustrated with lately. I really wanted to give my opinion on this show as a whole and what happened at the end, obviously. And I guess we should talk about that. The Morgan death cliffhanger, is it going to stick? Well, the showrunners could reveal otherwise tonight, so this could be wrong. And by the way, if they confirm that Morgan is going to survive, that's actually good. That's like a good form of damage control. Fans won't be so pissed off, though there's going to be some fans who don't go on the internet, who don't look up that kind of stuff, so they might remain pissed off. But the fan base online, and I guess if you watch Talking Dead, they're not going to be pissed off because they'll know that Morgan's going to survive, but we just have to wait and see how he's going to survive, how he's going to get out of that situation. I think this is probably the best choice in my opinion. I think they should do that. If they just say, well, you're going to have to wait until the season 6 premiere to find out, then that's just bad. You're going to piss off a lot of people with that. But personally, I don't think Morgan's going to die. I actually think this is how he's going to go into the Rick movies, or at least in the first Rick movie. I'll have a video coming out later on that. Now, that info could be wrong if the showrunners say anything about it later on. But as of now, I do think he's going to survive. I do think a helicopter will take him to the CRM, which means Morgan will be there before Rick ever gets there, which is kind of exciting for the Rick movie, right? So if that's the case, the cliffhanger isn't that bad, but for Fear as a show, I mean, it's an ineffective story. The characters are just going to move on, and that was just a way to get Morgan off the show, I guess. And somehow this is supposed to change the way they tell stories for season 6. It's just ridiculous. So overall, if I'm going to rate this season or give it a rating, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. I don't like giving ratings. I've talked about this before, but for this, I have to, just so you guys know exactly how I feel about this season. It was not a great season. It was a horrible season. I still feel like nothing has happened since Madison's death. Overall, this show is hurting The Walking Dead's name more than anything, and I'm just glad this season is over. For now anyways, we'll see what happens in season 6. The Walking Dead is back next week, so that is really exciting. I'm so excited for season 10, you have no idea. But post your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys thought of tonight's episode. Did you like it? How did you feel about the cliffhanger? Hope you all enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.